further away you get from the equator, what happens to cancer rates? Right? It grows. Okay? This is only one part of the equation. Certainly there's lots of other things that are going to impact this. This isn't a...
North and south or just north?
Both. Doesn't matter. Degrees away from the equator, right? Doesn't matter which way you go. So other types of cancer, melanoma. Melanoma is seen far more often in those who do not receive regular sunlight than those that do. Again, this is an interesting study. There was a big study done on Navy ships, and what they found is that melanoma happened higher in people that were below decks. Means they were getting what? Very little sun than people who were actually working on the decks. Okay, who are exposed to the sun all the time. It's again, we talked about this. It's important to note that when melanomas occur, they do so in parts of the body that typically get very little sun exposure. Okay, melanoma is actually increasing among those who regularly use sunscreen. Okay, breast cancer. Each year, more than 200,000 women are diagnosed with breast cancer in the U.S. More 40,000 will die from it. Recent report based on findings from 1996 and 2004 indicates that proper vitamin D levels can reduce the risk of breast cancer by as much as 50%. Fewer breast cancer in Mediterranean countries that are closer to the equator. Again, I'm not saying that sunshine vitamin D is the only factor into this. I am not a believer in one cause. It boils down to lifestyle and your ability to adapt in all areas. There's lots of other things that the Mediterraneans do correctly, but sun is one of them. Not only are they close to the equator, but it's like beautiful there all the time. At least the pictures I've seen. Okay. Even the studies show that even if you have breast cancer, when you get more sunlight, you increase your vitamin D levels. It actually helps your body fight the cancer that's already there. Okay, super important. Prostate cancer. Okay, a couple minutes here. About 50,000 men will die as a result of prostate cancer this year in the U.S. We talked about African American men, right? They have a higher rate of prostate cancer than those with lighter skin. 3 national cancer surveys found that African American men have a 34% greater chance of being diagnosed with the disease, 123% greater chance of dying from it. This is across the board. Rickets. Right, rickets is a vitamin D deficiency. One of the other things with vitamin D, it helps absorb calcium, which we'll get into. The African American population has incredible rates of rickets where they don't have that in native Africa, right? Because they're actually getting the sun. Where here we don't. And even if you live closer to the equator in America, let's say you live in Miami, Florida, right? You're close to the equator, but guess what? Most of us still live where?
Inside.
We're inside way too stinking much. Like you're just not getting what you think you're getting anyway. Okay.
But so you're saying that the African Americans have more prostate cancer, but they're in the sun all the time, or is this
African Americans?
Oh.
Not Africans.
Oh. Not Africans.
No. Compared to history, and the same thing with like rickets and all these diseases, right? It's what we've done is it's just like anything. When you take any creature, human or animal, out of its natural environment that they've been genetically bred for, it's not going to do as well. It's not going to do as well. You could do the same thing and take a person from Norway, okay, and put them at the equator, and it's going to be hard for us not to burn. Right? We're going to have some issues because we're not prepared for that environment. Right? Even this poor Canadian moved down here in the summer, and it's like, your summers are nuts, man. Humid and hot. I can't stand summer. It's my least favorite season. I like spring and fall. But I'm just not built for it, right? Like I grew up in a different place. It was drier and cooler, and that's how I like it. Okay?
You would not do well.
What?
You would not do well at the equator.
No. When we were in Jamaica, the first day there, we really had kind of bad weather for the first 3 days, and it was cloudy. And I'm like, it's cloudy. And so I didn't put sunscreen on. We were at the beach probably about 10 in the morning. I put sunscreen about 1 o'clock. Fried burnt. Right? You don't think that it's that powerful, but it's just. And then the last 3 days were sunny, and I spent the last day from 12 to 3 up on my roof because it was too hot. Like AC. Okay, prostate cancer. This is different countries. This came out a little bit more, I apologize. Hong Kong, Greece, Italy, Switzerland, France. I believe that's Holland, Norway. You can see the closer we get. Now, here's what's interesting about Switzerland. Switzerland was the highest. Why? The latitude isn't as high as Norway or Holland.
It can't be the chocolate.
Nope.
The cheese.
Nope.
Bitter ears.
Nope. What?
It was snowed in.
No? Very mountain, right?
Right.
Well, yeah. Block sunlight. A lot of villages are built on the dark side of the mountain or whatever, right? And so just that mountains will decrease the amount of sunlight that you're getting because it's the geographically. That's interesting. That's what they surmised. Kidney cancer, I could go through this, it's the same thing. Look at how, this is almost exponential. You can just see kidney cancer the further away you go from the equator. And again, there's other reasons we get cancer, but vitamin D will affect your ability to destroy the cancer that you're producing. Makes sense? Bone health, we talked about this. Someone who is vitamin D deficient absorbs about half as much calcium as normal. Right? No problem, keep drinking your milk. Right? We talked about this, milk is acidic, right? Don't believe that. Most people that have bone issues, it's not calcium, it's your ability to actually absorb the calcium that you're drinking and the acidity levels of your body. When you address those two things, like we're going to solve a lot of issues. Okay? Osteoporosis is very common, affecting 1 in 3 women over 50. French study showed more than 3,000 elderly women had a 43% reduction in hip fractures who were given vitamin D supplements. Okay, that's all that they changed, vitamin D supplements, that much of a decrease. Study from Minnesota, 100% of elderly patients admitted for fragility fractures were vitamin D deficient. I don't think this is that surprising because I can take this group and I guarantee you that, and probably myself included, we all still be vitamin D deficient. I'll show you what those numbers are. So that's not a surprise. But vitamin D and infections, okay? Antimicrobial properties. So vitamin D is, very important for that. Increases white blood cells. White blood cells are how your body fights, okay? Viruses, bacteria, and cancer cells. Influenza, most common here, when? Winter. In South America, when?
Summer.
Why summer in South America?
What's winter?
No, but there's summer.
Because they're
inside.
No, down there. Rainy season. They're probably inside, but rainy season, right? So they're not getting as much sunlight than either, because they are inside, which is interesting, right? It's not that it's. I always say the flu season is not like when all of a sudden the flu decides to jump from Asia over to here. It's when we have flu season because we're run down. It's our problem. And we always, there was a patient, I'm going to do a video on this, but there was a patient that came in and said, she was a little bit sick, and she's like, my 2 kids decided to share this with me, right? We always blame getting sick on someone else. My nephew was sick and he gave it to me. Yeah, when your nephew was sick, you may be around more viruses and bacteria, but how many days go by that you're not exposed to millions of viruses and bacteria? Right? 0. Bev works in a school, Deb works in a school. Right? You guys are exposed to that stuff all the time. Why aren't you sick all the time? Right? Why aren't we sick all the time? If it's just the virus and the bacteria, it's our resistance to that. Make sense? A ship will only sink when the waves are either way too high or the walls. If you're in a canoe versus a battleship, the waves are going to affect you a little bit differently, right? So this is our thing. You need to control the waves of the water and build the sides of your boat higher. Chiropractic is about building the sides of the boat higher. Your job is about helping the sea to calm down with the stress levels. Okay? This is interesting. In April 2005, an influenza epidemic started sweeping through the maximum security hospital for the criminally insane, so crazy people. Okay? Dr. John Cannell worked there, and what he found was that all of the wards just got hammered with this flu epidemic, except for his ward that he was responsible for. Almost none of them got sick. Even though all of the wards intermingled, all the patients there, criminals, however you want to say it, okay, got intermingled, all the nurses were switching, but his ward didn't. They looked back why. The only thing that they could find was that he was giving the patients on his ward 2,000 units of vitamin D every single day. So that was just a part of his trying to keep them healthy, and it shows how it strengthens your immune system. So vitamin D is huge for immune function. Okay. So again, vitamin D is required by the immune system to maintain normal function. Part of having an immune system that's out of balance can lead to autoimmune issues. It's things like rheumatoid arthritis, inflammatory bowel disease, Crohn's disease, multiple sclerosis. We talk about all these things to say that they're genetic. I have Crohn's and all this stuff because I've got the gene. Guys, the correlation between, there are people with irritable bowel syndrome and Crohn's disease that have no genes. There are people with the genes that don't have it. It's the same thing with breast cancer. There's not a breast cancer gene. there's a gene that tends to mutate that can cause problems, but it's not like God put a gene in you that's like, oh, you've got this gene that's going to produce cancer. That's insane. It does not exist. Okay? Disease genes do not exist. Abnormal genes that are normally there for something normal, that's right, they serve a function. Okay? You're far more likely to develop multiple sclerosis if you were raised in North America or Europe than if you were raised in a tropical country. So again, further away from the equator you were, more likely you have MS. Within the United States, you are twice as likely to develop MS if you spent your childhood in northern states than southern states. When you look at pregnancies, if a mother was pregnant during the winter, that means they typically give birth in the spring or the summer. You're far more likely to have a kid that has MS because if the mom is vitamin D deficient, guess what? Babes is typically vitamin D deficient, and the same thing is the reverse is true. If you were pregnant throughout the summer, typically giving birth in the fall or winter, because typically you have more vitamin D in your body, babe has got more vitamin D in their body, and they're protected against MS because of how it affects the immune system. Make sense? Very important. Get your son. Get those pregnant bellies out there. Okay, and this just shows, again, this kind of shows the ratios of kids that are born in different months that have MS, and you can see when you're born in the spring or the summer, those are higher rates of MS than if you were born in the fall or winter. Vitamin D and heart health. Heart attacks peak in midwinter, at their lowest in July. You actually have 53% more likely to have a heart attack in the winter than you are in the summer. Blood pressure. Again, farther away you live from the equator, typically the higher blood pressure. Again, I'm going to reiterate this. I'm not saying this is the only factor. There's lots of factors that are contributing to this, but it's definitely contributing. A person living in London, for instance, is likely to have blood pressure that's about 25 millimeters of mercury higher than someone living closer to the equator, like Singapore. Okay? Darker skinned people, again, tend to have higher blood pressure if they're not living in their natural environment. So again, African Americans, blood pressure is a big thing, right? I mean, it happens to all of us. Not all of us, but it can happen to all of us. It's a response to stress. The body doesn't do well without vitamin D. I love this one, cholesterol. So squalene is a precursor to cholesterol. So squalene sits in your skin, is exposed to the sunlight, it helps to perform vitamin D. So squalene actually produces cholesterol in the skin. There's a derivative of cholesterol that gets, when the sunlight hits it, that's what turns, so you go from cholesterol to, so squalene produces the cholesterol in the skin. Cholesterol gets hit by sunlight, transformed into vitamin D, okay? When the cholesterol levels of your vitamins when in your skin drop, so if you're getting enough sunlight, your body is, which is normal, your body's accounting for this, you replace that with cholesterol, and your blood cholesterol levels can actually drop. So one of the reasons we have that contributes to this, higher cholesterol levels, especially in the winter compared to the summer, is because the skin is not getting as much cholesterol. If you take a statin, okay, to lower your cholesterol levels, you can sit out in the sun all day. Might as well wear sunscreen, right? Your cholesterol levels, the numbers that we have for our cholesterol levels are so low, it's ridiculous. Okay, and we do a whole workshop on this, and we did, I think it was 2 months ago that we did heart. I know you gals were there, some people were there. It's not even scientific how low those numbers are. It's crazy. You need cholesterol. It is a nutrient for your body, right? It is involved with producing hormones. Vitamin D is one of them. People on statins, you're not getting, even if you're getting the sunlight, okay? It also can affect, cholesterol also works by, all hormones get affected. Okay, so Shrek and Fiona want to know that all the sun's benefit only from vitamin D production, and as we talked about at the beginning with no, just being exposure to a full wavelength spectrum, that's what your body is innately designed for, right? It's like your body's designed for water or Mountain Dew. Water, right? Like when you're thirsty, we reach for like a beer or maybe something else. When you're thirsty, you should reach for water. That's what you're designed for. Okay, your body's designed to be exposed to full spectrum light. This is not full spectrum. Inside your house is not full spectrum. Your chemical and hormone balance responds. So right now, as the sun begins to tip, if you live naturally, your hormone levels start to change. A lot of people have trouble falling asleep at night and staying asleep because your chemicals are so out of balance, and a lot of it has to do with we're creating this fake environment. It's interesting because the Apple on their iPhone just came out with an update that allowed this thing for called, what's it called?
Work shift or something like that.
Night shift, which changes the wavelengths that come out of the screen to wavelengths that are a little bit more yellow that won't affect your serotonin and melatonin levels. Research shows that if even the lights in your alarm clock in your room, right? If you turn a bathroom light on, your like hormone levels jump to wake hormones, and it can be hard to fall back to sleep. And even alarm clock light can affect your serotonin and melatonin levels. Okay, it's not just as simple as that. Again, it's how your body's able to adapt to all that, and that's why your nervous system is so important. But when we create fake wavelengths, okay, create fake light, and we're not exposed to this stuff, it's harder for your body to adapt to that. There's research out there that we all have these polarized glasses, right, which decreases glare and that sort of stuff, but you are affecting the amount of wavelength that comes into your eyes, the UVA and UVB, and not even polarized, but just UVA and UVB resistant lenses, that can affect your sleep-wake cycle, right? I wear glasses a lot, but a lot of time I take them off too, just so my eyes get exposed to the natural light that they're built for. Okay, it's interesting how all these things that we do that have these unintended consequences because we create fake environments for the body. Yes, ma'am?
Okay, now when you're talking about sunlight though, are we talking about sun with no clouds, or like you were in Jamaica and it was cloudy and yet you were getting burned?
Yeah, you're still getting all the wavelengths.
So if you walk at 6 in the morning and it's cloudy but the sun's out.
Right, you're still getting all the wavelengths. Now, the amount of like certain types of radiation that you get at 6 in the morning are very different than noon because of the angle of the sun. It's the same, we're going to get into it, but it's the same thing with the seasons. Okay, so let's get into that a little bit. But yes, you're still exposed to the full spectrum of that light, so that does make a difference. You're exposed to a lot more during the 10 to 2 range because of how the angle is. Okay? So it affects serotonin and melatonin levels. You've heard of this thing called seasonal affective disorder. This is where people tend to get a little bit depressed in the winter, and we even sometimes do it here when it's been rainy for like 5 days. I love all of you, but your moods definitely change. Mine probably too after a couple days of rain, right? They do. It changes. We need the sun. It's important, you know, and that's good. Again, degrees latitude. You can see the population that have been diagnosed with SAD. Like it's some sort of disease that you catch. Your body's, it's like a fish out of water. Yeah, we call that fish out of water. No, it's, yeah.
Do you know what our latitude is here? Approximately?
48.
40 degrees. What's the Canadian border?
48.
It is 48.
North 48 is Ontario, Minnesota.
Yeah.
Ontario, Minnesota.
And this is totally unrelated, but I find this fascinating that the most southern tip of Canada is further south than the most northern tip of California. Did you know that?
I'm sorry, what?
The most southern tip of Canada, Windsor, where it's like down Lake Erie, is further south than the most northern tip of California latitude-wise. I find that fascinating. Like when the Twins fly to Toronto to play the Blue Jays, they fly south. It's kind of weird to think, right? You always think Canada's north, and yeah, most of Canada is north, but there's that little hook. Okay. So we can skip some of this. This is something that's important. There's actually a treatment out there called bright light treatment. You can actually buy bulbs that produce full spectrum wavelength light. Okay, not necessarily UVA and UVB, but the visible spectrum going from violet, like visible light. There's wavelengths. That's what gives us the colors. Okay, these things shoot out a specific range of wavelength that is very narrow compared to what you can actually buy bulbs that are full spectrum light bulbs and do that in the winter, and that can actually help you with serotonin and melatonin levels and can help treat SAD. Right? Here's the deal. It's not just like if you exercised and ate right and got adjusted and did everything, you're going to be able to put up with a little bit of cloudiness for a while. But when all these things factor together, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, a little bit here, and that's why we get sick, right? We always want to look for one thing. It's not one thing. It's just we don't do very well in a lot of areas, and that really has an effect on our body. Does that make sense to you guys? Dan, you're awake over there? Oh, so I didn't go over that, but they said that several treatments, like a couple weeks treatment of bright light therapy for these people with SAD, there was research done, it's as effective as 2 depression medications. Right? So it's super important, like super important. And that's not to say that's the only thing that we should do. I'll tell you right now that my big thing for depression is exercise. Like, we need to move. Like, that's a huge thing that will affect you more than anything else, lifestyle-wise. You can do all that. If your curve is bad in your neck, your atlas is out of line with choking on your brain, and you're just jacking your chemicals up, and that's huge as well. So, how to have safe sun exposure. So, we're going back to the very beginning of the talk. We talked about consistent, moderate, safe sun exposure, the best thing you can do. How do you get that? Point number one, there are a couple spelling mistakes in yours. It says, follow these rules to endure safety. That should be ensure, okay? So it's good to start early in the year. Early in the year means spring, like right now, right? Do it early in the spring. This will prepare your skin for stronger sunlight later in the year. So here's what happens. This is why our seasons change, right? People go, well, we're closer to the sun. We're not closer to the sun. The earth is just, there's a wobble in our spin, right? And every year we wobbles us a little bit closer, so it tilts the northern part a little bit closer to the sun, right? And so what we're getting is more direct sunlight. All the ozone and everything, the further you are away, sunlight comes and it bounces actually off our ozone, okay? And so you're not getting that vitamin D, bounce off the earth, bounce off the ozone, etc. So the more direct light you're getting, the more intense it's going to be, okay? So sunlight in July is a lot stronger than sunlight in, May, right? Sunlight in Jamaica, which is closer to the equator, even on a cloudy day, was certainly a lot stronger than what we had here. And my skin hadn't seen anything, right, for like 4 months because we live here, okay? Early morning is good to start off with. So if you have sensitive skin, do not do the 10 to 2. The same reason the seasons change. The sun is higher up, it's more direct. If you want to start getting your skin ready, go for a walk at 8 or 9. Go for a walk at 5 to 6. And then you can start moving it closer and closer and closer to that 10 to 2 range. That's when the sun is most powerful. Regular sunbathing is extremely important. Again, you can't cram everything. It's not good. You're better off 10 minutes a day than you are, again, 60 minutes all at once. Like that slow consistency is key, okay? The darker your skin, whether because of genetics or tanning, the more pigment, the more natural pigment or melanin that you've got in your skin, the less sensitive you are, the more you're going to have to be out there. So in the summer, again, it works kind of nice because it's more direct. You don't have to be out near as long. But then come August, once you start to tilt back, or September, right? So June 21st, that's when the sun is most direct. So after that, things are moving the other way. It gets warmer still, just because the heating it doesn't catch up with sunlight right away, right? Then December 21st is the shortest day of the year. You can stand outside of your roof buck naked all day in December. Nothing's happening except you get arrested.